You know, you look out the window, you see a tree, and you just implicitly trust that the tree is actually there.
Right, of course.
You touch a hot stove, your hand pulls back, and you know the heat is real. We build our entire reality on this assumption that what our eyes and our fingertips are telling us is, well, just the unvarnished truth of the
It's
universe.
the baseline we need just to survive.
Exactly. We rely on that baseline to function, to walk down the street.
Mhm.
But when you start to bridge advanced neuroscience with ancient practices, that solid foundation of reality starts to look incredibly fragile.
It really does.
And that is exactly what we are getting into today. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking a fascinating look at an excerpt from The Science of Meditation, specifically a chapter called Brain Games.
It's a great chapter.
It is. The mission for this deep dive is to explore how ancient meditation practices perfectly map onto this famous, mind-bending philosophical thought experiment.
Yeah, we're going to break down the mechanics of your nervous system to show how it essentially plays tricks on your reality.
Which completely reframes what it actually means to meditate. I mean, it connects sci-fi concepts with human biology in a way that just gave me a massive aha moment.
It's a very analytical way to look at why meditation produces such profound, almost otherworldly experiences.
So let's just jump right in. To really grasp the mechanics here, the source uses this foundational thought experiment from philosophy,
Right. It's by Gilbert Harman, famously known as The Brain in a Vat.
the classic sci-fi setup.
Exactly. So picture a mad scientist who removes a person's brain from their physical body and suspends it in a vat of life-sustaining liquid.
Okay.
Then, the scientist wires the neurons of that disembodied brain directly to a supercomputer.
Like, incredibly powerful computer.
Yes, and this computer is programmed to simulate reality by feeding the brain electrical impulses that are utterly identical to the ones it would normally get from its sensory organs.
So the eyes, ears, tongue, skin.
Right. The computer simulates a complete reality from the ground up.
So if the brain sends a motor signal, like to move an arm and pick up an apple, the computer registers that output.
And it instantly feeds back the sensory input of the apple's weight.
The texture of the skin, the coldness of the fruit.
Exactly. The visual of the arm moving. The disembodied brain is having a perfectly normal conscious experience, but none of it actually relates to any physical object in the real world.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. The central anxiety here, the big question, is whether that brain could ever realize it is living in a virtual reality.
And the unsettling answer is no. It cannot know.
Because it gets the exact same signal.
Right. From the brain's internal perspective, an electrical impulse is just an electrical impulse. It has no mechanism to trace that signal back to see if it came from a real eyeball or a copper wire.
Wow.
And what's fascinating here is that this isn't just a modern thought experiment. It shares DNA with ancient ideas all over the world.
Like the Hindu concept of Maya, right? The illusion of the material world.
Exactly. Or Plato's allegory of the cave, where prisoners mistake shadows on a wall for absolute truth.
You also see it in Zhuangzi, the ancient Chinese philosopher.
Oh, the butterfly dream.
Yeah. He dreamed he was a butterfly, and when he woke up, he couldn't logically prove if he was a man who had dreamed he was a butterfly, or a butterfly currently dreaming he was a man.
Rene Descartes did the exact same thing in his meditations with the evil demon deceiving his senses.
It's just an anxiety that permeates our culture. I mean, it's literally the blueprint for movies like The Matrix and Inception.
Because long before fMRI machines, these thinkers realized the human sensory delivery system is fundamentally unreliable.
It's like wearing an impossibly perfect VR headset that you don't even know you're wearing.
Right.
Because the screen is wired directly into your actual brain tissue, there is no physical headset to just reach up and take off.
The illusion is flawless.
But the text makes this crazy pivot here. We aren't just talking about theory or some experiment we can't do because of moral or technological restrictions.
No, surprisingly, you actually go through a nearly identical biological scenario every single day.
We naturally simulate the vat.
Yes, the nightly vat. Sleep.
Let's break down the mechanics of that.
To understand how sleep mimics the vat, we have to look at the two distinct types of nerves in the body.
The two separate power grids.
Exactly. First, you have the animal nerves, or somatic nerves.
These are the sensory afferent nerves and motor efferent nerves.
Right, they control hearing, vision, smell, taste, touch, and your skeletal muscles. These are controlled by your mind.
The external connection to the world.
Yes, and they uniquely shut down during sleep. That's what causes temporary paralysis and sensory loss.
Okay, so that's grid one.
Then you have the vegetative nerves, the autonomic nerves.
The internal life support grid.
Precisely. They connect the unconscious brain to internal organs. They regulate blood circulation, basal metabolism, heart rate,
And they work automatically, completely independently.
and crucially, they stay active during sleep to keep you alive.
Okay, wait, I have to push back here for a second.
Go for it.
If we physically simulate this brain in a vat state every night, cutting off the external animal nerves while the vegetative vat keeps us alive, why don't we feel like enlightened sci-fi protagonists when we hit the pillow?
That is the big question. And the missing ingredient there is consciousness.
Right.
During normal sleep, the brain's logic and consciousness centers go into a dormant state. You lose your waking awareness.
So you're just a passive audience member to random dreams.
Exactly. To truly experience the brain in a vat, you would need a way to keep your mind entirely awake while your physical body shuts down.
Which brings us to the hack. We need a way to keep the mind awake while the body enters sleep mode. And that is the biological function of meditation.
It is the ultimate biological simulation of the brain in a vat.
You deliberately let the body fall asleep, shutting down the animal nerves, but you keep the mind fully conscious.
Right. And when you do that, when you deny the conscious brain sensory input, but keep it highly active, it starts desperately searching for data.
And when it can't find any from the silenced animal nerves, it just starts generating its own reality.
Which is why practitioners report such wild sensations during meditation.
Yeah, the text talks about these hallucinations, people hearing sounds like voices or crashing noises that just aren't there.
Smelling phantom incense or flowers.
Feeling freezing cold or burning hot when the room temperature hasn't changed at all.
Feeling complete limb paralysis or even feeling like their physical boundaries have dissolved.
Like their body and mind have integrated into the space around them. Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Yeah.
It's like putting your computer monitor and your keyboard to sleep to save power, but you leave the CPU running at absolute maximum capacity.
That's a perfect analogy.
And I want to clarify this for you listening. These bizarre experiences aren't magic. They're just normal biological hallucinations.
Right, caused by the sensory and motor nerves shutting down while the prediction engine of the brain stays active.
The brain is just trying to construct a cohesive model out of internal static.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the profound implication here is that this proves there is no clear structural distinction between fantasy and reality in the brain.
The neural pathways light up the exact same way.
Ultimately, reality is just a game between our nerves and our brain.
Okay, but if shutting down the sensory nerves leads to these incredible, profound states of pure consciousness, why is the most common experience for a beginner meditator just like extreme physical pain in their legs and back?
That is the body actively resisting the hack.
Right.
When a beginner sits down, their external grid is still fully active. The animal nerves are firing.
So sitting in that posture creates mechanical pressure.
Exactly, and restricted blood flow, which those highly active sensory nerves immediately report to the brain as pain.
You haven't dropped into the vat yet. You're just sitting uncomfortably in a room.
But if you push past that initial resistance, the text outlines a specific progression of shutdown.
The pain is the hurdle.
Yes. With practice, the sensory nerves start to shut down deeper and deeper. The transmission of pain signals weakens.
And the text says the body actually starts to feel lighter.
The pain vanishes entirely. Eventually, the meditator no longer feels their body at all,
It's as if it just disappeared.
leaving only consciousness pervading the universe.
It is wild how different traditions across the world have names for this exact same state.
Oh, absolutely.
They didn't have the biological vocabulary, so they called it an out-of-body experience or an immortal ascension.
A near-death experience or nirvana rebirth.
It's all describing the subjective experience of the mind staying awake while the animal nerves go offline. So, what does this all mean? How does this biological shutdown actually map onto spiritual philosophies?
Well, the source brilliantly aligns this biological sequence directly with the Buddhist framework of the three worlds of being.
Let's break that down. The first is the desire world.
Right. The normal human state, full of desires and cravings.
Biologically, this is just the waking state. Your external sensory grid is fully operational.
Because ancient philosophers noted that all desires originate from the senses. You see food, you want it.
Without the visual or the smell, the specific craving requires that external data feed.
Exactly. Then, as the senses begin shutting down, you move into the form world.
The intermediate stage.
Yes. Since the ancients believed all desires come from the senses, as the senses dim, the desires disappear.
But the body, the form, still exists to your mind's eye, right?
Yes, the motor awareness nerves still give you a vague sense of bodily location. But the acute sensory data that triggers intense craving is gone. So the body is there, but the desire is gone.
Depriving the engine of fuel, and that leads to the final stage, the formless world.
The total cessation of somatic input. The sensory nerves are completely shut down.
The physical body no longer exists to the conscious mind.
It is the ultimate consciousness-only mode.
We have successfully recreated the brain in a mat using our own biology.
We really have.
But wait, in the sci-fi thought experiment, the brain needed a supercomputer to feed it those pre-programmed dreams and code. Where is our supercomputer in this biological version?
That is the final epiphany the text leads us to.
Dreams are essentially just another name for human desires, right?
Yes. And if the thought experiment uses a supercomputer to fulfill your desires, like programming a utopian simulation where you can fly or have infinite luxury meditation, does the exact opposite.
Because meditation allows you to transcend the desire world, move through the form world, and reach the formless world.
By doing that, you have completely shed the shackles of sensory enjoyment and worldly interests. You don't need a supercomputer to write code to fulfill your desires, because the process of entering the biological vat destroys the desires in the first place.
You can achieve absolute spiritual freedom and liberation without any external signals to stimulate you.
The reliance on external signals is what keeps you tethered. Meditation is the only tool required to achieve that self-contained liberation.
It is such an elegant dismantling of that sci-fi fantasy. You don't need the machine because your own nervous system is the machine.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with this final mind-bending question to ponder.
It's a big one.
The source mentions that even right now, as you absorb this very information, listening to us talk, you cannot be 100% sure if you are a brain inside a skull or a brain inside a vat.
You're relying entirely on your sensory grid right now.
If your own nervous system can be hacked by simply sitting still and breathing to the point where reality itself completely dissolves into a formless world, what does that say about the physical world you are interacting with right now?
It really makes you question that baseline we talked about at the start.
Are you sure you're currently awake? Keep exploring that tension, and thanks for joining this deep dive.